Hello, my loves. This is Heidi with your weekly oracle reading for July 20th. So, a couple things. First of all, I'm getting this message started a little bit late, and what is perfect about that is all the metaphors that have come to rise up to show me and to speak about the energy that's going on right now. So, a little bit of an update. We are in this sense of transition. It's like the veil has been pulled back just enough that new information has come in, whether that's on a global scale, on a small scale, in your intimate partner relationships, all of it. And so we're in this process of assimilating and transitioning all of that new information. So this morning I sat down to do the recording. My husband had taken the tripod that I use. There's construction going on outside. There's a plumber at my house today. It's like all of the stuff, all of the external and the internal, the plumbing, right, is all being realigned based on new information. And so there's a saw. So pardon the noise. And then the other thing, so if you've been following me for a while, for the past 3 years since I started doing these reports, I have been talking about this feminine energy that's rising and coming up through the soil, and it's already out now. And what's really interesting and what's shifting right now, and it's perfectly timed with that chainsaw, as I'm talking about this, is so we've got this feminine energy rising. Women and the feminine in everyone is being awoken and realized, oh, hey, like we need to be more part of the whole. There needs to be more of a balance here than the patriarchal society that we've been living in. So what's now showing up is all of a sudden this switch to focus on the masculine and the fact that, okay, once the feminine comes up, the masculine has to be there to balance it so that we can weave it together in a more unified, in a way of braiding so that they're both equal. So one thing to think about with that is the image of the yin-yang symbol. So first of all, you've got the yin-yang, black, white. It truthfully in teaching should be black and gold because it represents the lunar and solar forces. And so there's a whole reason why it was done black and white to keep us in duality thinking. So realistically, it should be gold and yellow. So just be aware of that. But more importantly for today and for this week, what I want to talk about is with the yin yang. So in the larger pieces, there's a dot, if you'll notice on both sides. And that dot is the opposite of the energy that it's, placing. So if this is the feminine, you have the masculine dot. If this is the masculine, you have the feminine dot. And the reason for that is that energy, that dot, that force of the opposite energy is what moves it forward and makes the whole thing spin. So what's happening is we've got all this feminine rising, right? All this focus on the feminine. And what we need to be reminded is of that dot of the masculine in the center of that. And that masculine is like a stake in the ground that we put and we claim our territory. We claim who we are. We have to have some of that strength of the masculine in order to allow all of our feminine to come up and work in the ways that it is most beneficial. The opposite is also true. In the masculine, you have to have the force and the grounded nature of the wisdom of the feminine in order for the masculine to move forward in a cohesive and integrous way, right? So that's what we've seen in our society a lot is a heavy energy on the masculine without that stake of the feminine wisdom in the ground, sort of being a guiding force going forward. So that's what I'm noticing in the collective, just shifting, and that's just been coming in just in the last day or so. So let's do a card and see what the card wants to say for the rest of the energy coming up this week. So what is it, my dear? Oh, the mother. I mean, could it be any better? Like, who has to take care of us and make sure that this whole transition happens smoothly without a hitch if it were not the mother managing the whole rebirth of ourselves and our souls, right? And our humanness. So this is from The Wild Unknown, Kim Kranz's archetype deck. The Great Mother, the Feminine, the Source. We begin our archetypal story with the Mother's Love. It's the first card in the deck. Through her sensual, fertile, and life-giving energy, all creation takes form. Regardless of our birth story, each of our hearts beat for the first time in the warm womb of the mother, where she offered resources from her body for the building of our own. Yet her tale is not so simple, as the mother, especially on the earthly plane, contains both light and dark aspects of the feminine. Within the best of intentions, the mother wraps her loving arms around her creations and begins to grip what she meant to set free. The mother both nurtures and prohibits growth. She gives yet clings. She creates yet restricts. And amid this complex energy, the mother holds the key to the eternal challenge of love. When light, glowing, generative, creative, nurturing. When dark, dim, exhausted, controlling, limiting. Well, this is absolutely perfect because this piece right here where it talks about the mother both nourishes and prohibits growth, she gives yet clings, she creates yet restricts, right? Which is exactly why we have to have that dot of the masculine to come in and balance that form, that force that's moving forward, so that we are reminded our children are not ours. They are on loan to us. We are here to teach them, guide them, help them, but at some point we have to let them go. And we have to disconnect and with the trust that they have their own guiding force, right? And the masculine is the one that has that strength to push through and move through that discomfort. So that's exactly perfect. Let's see what else. The mother is part of the trifecta, maiden, mother, crone. Because of the relationship between them, take special note when these cards appear in one reading. Notice how the mother archetype is expressed in nature. This is perhaps the most balanced and benevolent form of the mother's grace. So that is just perfect. So stay in touch with that this week. Notice what's moving, what's shifting. You know, also this sense of the mother. It has that birth energy, and I was just talking to a friend about this morning. After you have birth, your body goes through this whole transition moment of having to come back to stillness, having to come back to itself. And so it's soft, it's tender, it needs rest, it needs nurturing and nourishing just as much as the baby does to come back to your center, come back to your wholeness, you know, before you had a child. So anyways, blessings for the week, and I will see you next week. We've got collage happening today in just an hour, and then Women's Circle is this week at 11 a.m. Pacific. All right, blessings. Mwah.